still counting?
I think they're still counting.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I find.
No, people will vote. Good evening and welcome to Newsmaker Live. Thank you very much for joining us. We have a very special program tonight. We're talking U.S. elections, and why is that significant to us in St. Lucia? Because it seems that the entire Caribbean, including St. Lucia, was celebrating after Obama won his second term in office. So, for the second time in a row, a black man will be in the White House for the next 4 years. Joining me to discuss the U.S. presidential election and the implications, we have political observer David Cox, is also a lawyer, and we have our good friend Ayodele Hippolte. She's a media practitioner, and also she has been living in New York for the last year.
That's right.
And she has been observing the campaigning. She has also participated in some form or the other in the Obama campaign. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
It is so nice to have you here. I could not think of two better people to discuss obamamania.
Thanks for having me, Clinton. Yes.
Thanks.
What is the feeling? What is the feeling tonight for you guys?
Well, certainly from my perspective, having been living in the States for the last year, I'm relieved because there was a sense that Romney was gaining momentum, that he would actually beat Obama, although I never doubted that Obama would win. But as a New Yorker, you just got a sense that after that first debate, that things were going to go south, you know? I mean, I didn't believe that personally, but there was a sense in the community that Obama might just lose this. So even though I didn't doubt, I was still relieved, very relieved that he won. And we can go into the reasons why I think that Obama needed another 4 years. But for me, the overall sense is of relief.
And you, David?
I'm elated, to be honest. I am extremely happy that he's won. Like Ayodele, there is a level of relief because I frankly think Romney would have been a terrible president. I think Obama's re-election would mean good things for us. For the Caribbean and for the world generally. I think most importantly, the United States economic position is going to continue to improve, probably sluggishly, but the point is that it's going to improve, which is better than what would have happened if Romney had been elected, which probably would have been the case that it would not have. And I also think that the likelihood is that the United States is probably going to avoid getting into any major extended long-term conflicts in the next 4 years unless something really unforeseen, really
what, like another Bush coming into power?
Basically. Well, but I mean, while Obama's election means that a war-weary United States is going to be more judicious about using its military overseas, getting involved in an extended war, and that's going to mean good things for the United States economy, and it's going to have a knock-on effect on.
For 3 days only, buy one, get one at half price on everything in
good
store
news.
when you purchase.
And I agree with Ayodele. It's a great relief, even though it was fairly clear that Obama was likely to win. But there were some missteps, and it could have gone.
Yes.
You know, it could have gone.
Now we're playing Monday morning quarterback here because I mean, yes, Obama has won now, so you can say, yeah, we expected Obama to win. Of course, he would win. But then, as you said, there were a number of missteps. You mentioned that first debate, where I don't know, was he just trying to make things interesting?
No, I think he was tired, Clinton. I think that he was mentally and psychologically exhausted by that. Because remember, he's campaigning also, and he's also being president, you know, running the government, right? So, and I think too, there was a lot of build-up towards that first debate, and I think he was trying to, maybe he was advised to look presidential rather than being in a sort of street fight and down and dirty with Romney. And maybe he underestimated Romney, because Romney had been making some serious gaffes, embarrassing himself in various situations. And so, you know, maybe he thought in terms of the debate, and, you know, I mean, Obama is a consummate orator, and so maybe he thought that he could have relied on those skills, but Romney came out prepared and fighting. So I think it was a combination of things that made Obama underperform, and you know, it had been a bruising campaign up to that point, and this was the first time I think that Obama had to take on Romney one-on-one, right? It has always been, you know, their campaign, they're shooting back and forth, but always from a distance. So, you know, it was like the perfect storm in a way. I mean, I felt sympathetic towards him. I know people were devastated. I know David was disappointed because we've been communicating. But for me, I sympathized. I mean, he's a human being, and, you know, it was rough. But I knew he'd come back. I knew he would rebound. And to me, it was the first debate. It was one debate. And apparently, historically, debates don't change the outcomes of elections anyway. So that was the other comfort I took out of it.
Well, I mean, the polls changed almost immediately. That the week following that first debate, Romney went up a few points in the polls.
I would agree with much of what ayodele said, but I think that there was another element going on, which I think people do not give at. I mean, I think people underestimate. And one of the things that we need to remember is that Barack Obama has achieved the success that he has achieved in an extremely racially divided country, principally by knowing how to navigate between different cultures. This is a man who's lived in Indonesia. This is a man who's lived in Hawaii. He's traveled, and this is a person who has had to, who is obviously black, but has been raised by grandparents, white grandparents. And what has defined him in his career is an ability to avoid offending people, an ability to deal with different cultures in a very good way. And I think what happened is that in that debate, that proved to be also his greatest strength and his greatest weakness. I think he was misadvised, and I know that's but I think it's misadvised rather than ill-advised, in the sense that I got a sense that Barack Obama's handlers said to him, look, you can't, you've got to look, you're the president, you're ahead, so there's no need for you to be too aggressive with Romney. Let Romney have his way. You just need to look presidential and statesmanlike. And you need to be nice. You need not to offend anyone.
Yeah.
And you have to also remember that for Obama, there's always a racial element. Every time Obama opens his mouth, there are swaths of black people in the United States and the world over who are literally crossing their fingers, hoping that he doesn't make a misstep. Because the mistakes for him are multiplied across races. So I think the problem for him was that he'd gotten into this debate where he couldn't be too aggressive as president. He was being told he can't be too aggressive, and on the other hand, he couldn't afford to make any major mistakes, because if he made a major mistake, unlike with Romney, if Romney made a mistake, it wasn't such a big deal. But for Obama, because there is that racial element, if he does make a mistake in that kind of a forum, it is major. Now, and I think having, in a strange way, having lost that first debate, then it put him as the underdog in the ones to come, and that made it, that gave him permission to come back in a more aggressive way.
Yeah, because I thought Romney was done when he made that statement about the 45%. He's not targeting the 47% of Americans who would vote Barack Obama no matter what. He's going for those who have not made up their minds and those who do not depend on work. I thought he was finished at that point.
That's an interesting thing about U.S. elections, that certainly as long as I have ever been, I mean, I've been sort of following U.S. elections very closely since, Bill Clinton was elected. I mean, and in any other campaign, any other election, he would have lost.
Yes.
But I think the fact that Romney managed to hold on is indicative of a couple of things. One is that the media has changed significantly between, say, when Reagan ran and now, in the sense that that would have dominated the news cycle, and today that things are moving so fast that it's difficult for people to get the kind of traction. Although I still think with any other candidate it would have been a done case. No. But I also think what happened was that, frankly, you couldn't underestimate the coalition of forces looking to defeat Obama.
That's right.
In the sense that it didn't matter what Romney did.
That's right.
They would forgive it if it meant that they could get rid of Obama.
And they had the money to back it. You had the billionaires for Romney, or billionaires against Obama, something like that. Now let me bring you in, Ayodele, on that point, in terms of the media and them not covering it. Is it a situation where the media are so polarized, that they're so red and blue, that they kind of balance each other off, and if the Democrats were saying one thing, the Republicans were countering, and then that story just died out?
Yes, no, I'm glad you bring up the media, Clinton, because for me that's one of the tragedies of what has happened to American society. Because, of course, you and I know as journalists who have been trained and so on that, the media is supposed to be the fourth estate, the watchdog and the gatekeeper, all of that in terms of protecting society from partisan interests, from controlling the dialogue, what's supposed to be happening in society. Instead, you find the media taking sides because there's big business behind media. There's the corporatization of media, and it is rampant now in America. The only source that I trust is Public Broadcasting Service, PBS.
Oh yes.
And they are publicly funded. People like you and me, we do our contributions, right? They get a subvention from the state and so on. And so because of that, I don't know about the McNeil-Lehrer NewsHour. It's now I think it's just the NewsHour, PBS NewsHour. Right. But seriously, Clinton, balanced, fair, objective, no agenda. That's what I watched for the entire campaign. I dip into CNN just to see what else is happening. Because you are right, the media in America now extremely polarized because the businesses and the corporations behind them are that way. And in fact, the right is winning the media war in terms of visibility and barks louder because there's more money behind them, right? So what I found during the campaign, apart from PBS, is that depending on which station, whether it's Fox or MSNBC, you got a totally different idea of what the candidates were up to, what they're doing. And so if you're trying to be fair, you couldn't make up your mind, And I think too, what has happened is that the issues become diluted, they become almost bastardized because people take a soundbite out of context. And as David was saying, to the 47%, in any other universe, this would have been huge, right? But no, because the Republican media is so strong, it gets underplayed and so on. So the media, it's a casualty of what's happening to American society. And just quickly, I want to say, for me, having lived there for the last year, I think America is either on the verge of decline as a major power, or is transitioning to join the rest of the world where the rest of us live. But they're no longer that sort of superpower, and I think that's good for the world. And that's another reason I think that it's good that Obama has been re-elected.
Now I want to take that up again, but we're due for a break. You'll respond to what she said or add to what she said when we come back. We'll take our first break on Newsmaker Live. We're here with David Cox. He's a political observer. He's a lawyer, who watches a lot of politics, and he's also was also on the Constitution Review Commission for St. Lucia, and Ayodele Hippolte, a media practitioner, pursuing further studies. So she's well versed in what we're discussing here. Stay with us. Newsmaker Live continues right after this break.
Distant second or so watching that, as well as many other things. Either way, there are more fights ahead. Listen here.
When we make big decisions, it necessarily stirs passions.